Right, I'm also recording this. So before we start with, these are the various factors that affect resistance. We already spoke about some of the factors, if you remember. Just a second. I need to turn on my other one. Yeah. We also spoke about some of the other factors microscopically, like distortions in the material. If you remember, lattice structure distortions, thermal vibrations, and all those. And these are more physical, macroscopic, bigger scale ones, where you are actually seeing the length of the wire affects the resistance, cross-section area, the material itself. Nature of the conductor means, obviously, you know that copper is a very good conductor. Iron is not such a good conductor. That means when you change the material, the resistance changes. So that is what you're seeing over here. And the fourth factor is the effect of temperature. And that's what we are going to discuss now. And before we discuss that point, I want you to think about a game. Imagine a game like kids, not, you guys have already grown up, but imagine you are like tiny kids and you are trying to play a game. Okay, yeah, this is a room, and let's imagine out of, you, maybe your class strength is generally 40 or something less than that. Let's imagine out of those 40 students, I'm arranging 30 students everywhere possible. All right. So these are 30 students I'm arranging at different locations, maybe randomly, or but they're a little far. Definitely, they're not too clustered. It's not winter season to stand too close to each other. And also, we need 6 feet distance. You're already aware that. So we have our 6 feet distance, and that's what I think you got a sense of where we are going. The lot of you who are standing here, okay, idle, you're not moving much actually. Imagine like that. Now, out of those 40, 30 people are standing there. Don't count those intos and say that that's not 30. Just imagine those are 30. Now we have 10 more people left out. So let's use a different color for those 10. And those 10 guys or 10 girls, whoever, they are over here. Okay. So in that fashion, we have few more. And the game goes like this. So what you have to do is, this is the game. These green people are, they're not aliens, they're just like us. These green guys or green girls, what you have to do is you have to run to the other side of the room. Other side of the room, and these are the conditions. You should not touch people who are in red color, and you should not hit each other while you travel. So you should not touch each other. There should be that minimum gap between you guys, the green people, and you should also not hit any of those people. So under these circumstances, you're doing an experiment. And let's say, for example, to complete this entire experiment, to be careful, and it's a timer thing, right? You tend to run very fast when you're given this opportunity. So when you try to run fast, you make a lot of mistakes. And to avoid all those mistakes, let's imagine the total time spent to complete this entire activity is 10 minutes. So this is our first one, first game. Maybe when we meet physically, we can try this in the future. Okay. Now let's try one more thing right now. So same room, same people, 30 people who are standing around, 10 people who want to run a race. Conditions are the same. You should not touch each other. No green person should touch the other green person, and no green person should touch the red person. But there's a small difference. This time, the people in red, or people who are wearing red shirts or red colored dress, what we are telling them is, you should not stand idle like this. You should not be steady. You should be moving around like this. You should be moving continuously around. Even every person will be moving like vibrations of a lattice structure, like the way atoms vibrate. Similarly, all these people are vibrating, or they're moving forward, backward in that fashion. Now, if you ask these green people to run around and get to the other side with the same conditions of not touching a red person, even though he's moving, and also not touching each other. Now, can you tell me if you would take less than 10 minutes, equal to 10 minutes, or more than 10 minutes? You can use your voice, guys, if you want. I hope the The game is clear to you. First case, people in red are stationary, they're idle. Okay. But second case, people in red are given that it's not a choice. Compulsorily, every red person should actually move forward and backward, and they should move very fast, like vibrations of an atom. Now, you think you spend more time, or let's use numbers. We already fixed 10 is the number, right? So will you take more than 10 minutes to travel to the other side, green people? Or do you think green people will take less than 10 or equal to 10? I need your answers,
More
guys.
than 10.
Right, I got, is that Hasini? I think I am able to recognize
Yes,
your
sir.
voice now. Yes, it's more than 10 from Hasini. What about others? Is there anyone who think you can do it faster than, take less time than 10 minutes? I think it's practically impossible, right? Definitely you have to be more careful. You have to avoid those collisions. So you'll take more than 10 minutes, maybe 20, 30 or whatever. So this is exactly happening inside a metal wire when you increase the temperature. When temperature is less, the vibrations of the atoms are very less. Electrons can relatively go faster. But if the temperature is increased, the vibrations of the atoms are enormous. The lattice structure vibrates a lot. And when that vibrations happen, electrons take more time to travel. When electrons take more time, I'm using the symbol V for velocity, guys. In the first case, velocity of the electrons are relatively higher, large. Velocity is more. When electrons are moving faster, we already know electric current is more. When electric current is more, we say resistance is less. Why? Because if there is more current, you don't need to supply much of energy. Okay, resistance is low because current is greater, they're inversely proportional. Or when resistance is low, we say it's a very good conductor. Okay, now let's look at the second case that we have done. It's exactly reverse of this. Here in this case, velocity of the electrons is smaller, is low because there are lots of other collisions that are happening. You're trying to avoid the collisions. So in this case, velocity is smaller. Electrons can't move really fast. So since velocity is smaller, since electrons cannot move faster, we already defined this, right? Whenever you think about current, I want you to think about two things I told you. One, how many electrons, how fast are they moving? Since the electrons are moving slowly, so obviously the current is low. Whenever the current is low, we say the resistance of that metal wire is high. If resistance is high, the conductivity is bad, or the material is not such a good conductor. Okay. So if you could reduce the temperature of wires, the wires become good conductor. Now think about your phones, guys. Your phones, my laptop or your laptops, entire wiring that happens outside, all the wires that you see, it could be cable wires, telephone wires, internet wires. Everywhere this problem exists. The temperature keeps on increasing. When the temperature increases, we have the second case, the resistance increases, current decreases. So you need to supply more energy to increase the current. So lot of energy is getting wasted because of heating of the material. So that is the burning issue. So people are trying to find a way to reduce the temperature without compromising on the current. Okay. So that's the target or the research, one of the research topics. You can do a lot of research in this area also. Try a general literature survey, Google search or something like that to understand. Okay, so this is what happens for metals, by the way. I want to give an extra tip, okay, bonus feature, okay, like our January 1st bumper bonanza, right? That extra tip is, if you think about, there are non-metallic conductors also, okay, some special type of plastics they have made, they can actually conduct electricity. Those plastics or those conductors, if you increase the temperature, their resistance decreases. That means when you increase the temperature, what you have seen right now, whatever you have seen in this experiment, for metals, when you increase the temperature, they become bad conductors. But for non-metallic conductors, some special plastic conductors, some plastics, they modify their structures to make them conductors. Okay. When you increase their temperatures, they behave in a reverse way. Instead of becoming bad conductors, they tend to become good conductors. Why? Because when you increase the temperature of plastics, some of the covalent bonds will break and some electrons will become free. Since there are more electrons in that plastic, they can move freely and they can conduct more electricity. So in metals, please remember, if you increase the temperature, resistance increases and it becomes a bad conductor. Okay, so that's the conclusion. But we need to prove this. This is theory, guys. Your textbook did not give all this, so that's why I'm telling you. You need to prove all this, and our experiment will help us in proving. And after that, we can actually close today's. So I have a question from Hasini. Amrit just gave an example of a non-metallic conductor, graphene. So, and Hasini has a question: why they start moving when temperature increases? You mean the lattice structure? I think Hasini is talking about why does this lattice structure vibrate? So that is what temperature does, right? Temperature increases the vibration. It's a very simple experiment in your ninth class. If you remember, try to recollect that experiment. If you have two beakers, one with cold water and another one with hot water, if you add, let's say, powders like food color, biryani powder or whatever powders, if you add it the same time, the cold water beaker, you see very little mixing. In this cold water beaker, you see very little mixing, whereas in hot water beaker, you see very fast mixing. The reason is temperature increases the movement of particles. They make it, they make them move very fast. And what happens here is, in a way, all these red color guys are bonded in the lattice structure. One atom is connected to the other atom, or one ion is connected to the other ion. So they can't just run away anywhere. So instead of running, they just vibrate at the same mean position. Okay. So this is what happens with temperature. Whenever you increase, there will be movement of particles. All right. And I want to add one more thing. If you don't want any movement, you need to take the temperature of that substance to minus 273 degrees centigrade. It's called 0 Kelvin. If you could take the material to that particular stage, you'd say it's a super conductivity stage. These things will not vibrate, they will be stationary, and electrons will run around like hell. Okay, so that is impossible, by the way. No one were able to achieve that temperature. But if you put a metal block in liquid nitrogen, liquid carbon dioxide, you can get high conductivity. But that is not possible. You cannot use liquid nitrogen from power station to our houses. All those ways you cannot do that. Yes, Bose-Einstein condensate. Bose is our Indian scientist, and they collaborated. Einstein, and whatever formulas they derived, it was given Bose-Einstein condensate. Amrit gave me that particular point right now. All right. So, and what about, I think Hasini was talking about even electrons. Electrons also tend to move faster when you increase the temperature. But because of faster movement, that doesn't mean they'll travel faster. There'll be more collisions with the structure and with the other electrons. So in fact, even with more temperature, electrons tend to become slow. So electrons have more collisions with the lattice structure when temperature increases. So both ways, lattice structures are the reason vibrations, and also high speed of electrons will result in more collisions, more stopping, more moving forward, and all those. All right, so let's move on to the to this particular activity. It's a very short one, very simple, but you need to learn a new point with multimeter. So you already learned a few things about multimeters, but I need to show you one more feature of multimeter, and then we can do this experiment. Yeah, so I'll turn this off so that we can have a big screen. Right. So you already know our multimeter. One side you have the DC voltage. On the top you have AC voltage. And then you have ammeter, ammeter scales, galvanometer is also there. Very tiny currents, that 2000 microamperes is galvanometer, whatever you're seeing in the top, 2000 micro. And the last one in the bottom, you have resistance, ohms. Let me bring it closer. Hopefully you can see an omega symbol. There is an omega symbol exactly over here, guys. Oh, sorry. Yeah, over there. You can see that small omega symbol. That means resistance in ohms. So let's use that. I want to find out, for example, by the way, to find resistance of any material, there are two methods. One method is the long about method. Where is your nose? This is the way you put your hand, your finger towards you. That's the shortest way. Other way is, this is where, I mean, I can't even stretch. My nose is over there, right? So I'm talking of whatever we did till now, finding the resistance of a wire. We did the long way. I want to put my hand under my feet and bring it to my nose. That's the longest way we could do. What we did was we found voltmeter reading, we found ammeter reading, we did the division, and that was resistance. That's a very long method. There is also a shortcut method. Instead of doing all that, we can directly use this ohm meter. Whatever ohm meter in the bottom, if you directly place it and connect it to a wire, you'll get the result directly. You don't have to do V value, I value, the ratio and all. Even then I did it. The reason is one thing, we have to follow the textbook procedures. And second thing is I like to trouble my students. So that's the reason I did it. Now let's do the shortcut method. Now we have these particular wires. So you have these three wires. These are high resistance wires. I'll connect my multimeter to those, to that particular one, and then we can actually measure that resistance. Okay. I want to first show you that procedure, and then we'll do the same method to find out what happens for a filament bulb. Our experiment is with a filament bulb. Don't forget the purpose of why we are learning this. Our new target is to practically prove that when you increase the temperature in a metal wire, it becomes a bad conductor or its resistance increases. In order to prove that, we need to learn few skills. Okay. So what I'm doing right now is I have this particular wire, the top one. So I'm connecting my multimeter. I don't even need a battery also. My multimeter is enough to find the resistance. It itself will do all the donkey work. When I say donkey work, it will gather voltmeter value, it will gather ammeter value, it will do the division. All that is donkey work. Not much of intelligence is required, right? Okay. So now I have my scale, and please observe, I have set it to 200 ohms. Okay. The lowest one, exactly on the other side of off button, that's 200 ohms. All right, so what I'm doing is, and if you observe this value, again, I'm seeing that original error, if you remember. Whenever you see that overloading error, blindly what you have to do is set it to a higher scale. From 200 ohms, beside there is another one that's called 2000 ohms. And when I set it to 2000 ohms, you should be seeing a reading. Okay, guys, please check it out. Are you seeing any reading? I'm sorry, I'm losing.
Sir, you set it to
1 second. Yeah. Now please observe. I have set it, both ends of my multimeter are connected. And right now the reading I am seeing is 325 ohms, guys. Whatever I purchased in the market, that I actually purchased 320 ohms resistor, and it's showing 325 because of some manufacturing defects. And even this particular multimeter is a little bit old. That could also cause errors. Now what I'll do is, I cannot show you, but I'll change it to the next wire. Among those three wires, I'm changing it to the next wire, and please see the reading. All right.
you set it to continuous to function.
For the continuous function, the problem over there is these are a little bit high. You might see some errors when I do that, but it's okay. Let's continue this. The second wire I have is 100 ohms. I purchased 100. It's showing 101 ohm. It is giving me 1 ohm free. And third wire is 220. That's what I purchased. It's showing 216 ohms. So I could have done the same experiment, guys, like before. We could have made the same circuit, given B value, I value, and if you do the division, you would have got similar results, whatever you are saying here. So this is a shortcut method. And the problem with this shortcut method is such high resistances is okay. All these wires have really high resistance. For those, it will function fine. But if I do the same shortcut method on these wires, you'll not get good results, worst possible results. So over there, you will definitely, these are very low resistance. Our machines are not capable of doing such low resistance. It needs longer wires, at least like 5 meters, 10 meters, only then it will give us a little bit of accuracy. And this 10 centimeters is not enough to get accuracy. So we had to go with that method. I'm not just a sadist, I'm an intelligent sadist. That's why we need to do that particular method. Okay, right. So let's understand our main activity nerve. I know, guys, some of you are really, I mean, it's like too much of information and all. But as I told you, if you come prepared, if you just look at your textbook once before you come here, you'll get involved more and more. And some of you, you don't need the motivation, you're already motivated. So that's the reason activities will help actually. When you do activities, it's not a monotonous kind of teaching. You tend to get distracted and again reorganize yourself. Okay. So I want to share your textbook, one of your textbook pages, so that we can understand. And by the way, I hope with all this ruckus, you did not forget our goal. Our goal is to understand what happens when you increase temperature of a metal wire. Okay. So let's look at a slide or your textbook page. So this is your textbook page. All right. So focus on this image that you're seeing over here. All right. Right. So please observe that particular image. That's what we are going to do, the experiment, very simple experiment. So what we are going to do is this multimeter that we got trained, how to use a multimeter as an ohm meter, we just got trained, right? We'll be setting this multimeter to ohm meter. First, what you'll do is you'll be taking a bulb. We will be taking a bulb, will not make any connections, will not connect it to a battery. We'll just take this bulb and we'll connect the multimeter directly to the terminals of the bulb. Bulb also has two terminals. As you can see over here, there's one terminal in the top and one terminal in the bottom of the bulb. Is there a way to highlight? Let me check. Okay. So over here, sorry. Yeah, at the top of the bulb, you have one connector and at the bottom, you have another connector. So when you directly connect it to the bulb, you'll get a resistance of the bulb. Whatever tungsten filament is there, the filament is the main thing that's responsible for the light glow. So you can measure the resistance directly, and that resistance corresponds to low temperature. Because we did not connect it to any other external power supply, we can say that that is for low temperature, that value, whatever we obtain. The next step, what we'll do is we will build this circuit, whatever you're seeing, that figure 13. We'll build that entire circuit with a battery. And when the battery is turned on, we will again put these multimeter ends to the terminals of the bulb, and then we'll find out. So let me make it clear for you. I want to give it in Telugu once, and again I'll summarize in English. So manam చేసేది simple. ఒకసారి బల్బ్ వెలగనప్పుడు మనం మెజర్ చేస్తాము రెసిస్టెన్స్, బల్బ్ వెలుగుతున్నప్పుడు మెజర్ చేస్తాం. బల్బ్ వెలుగుతున్నప్పుడు మెజర్ చేయడానికి రీజన్ ఏంటంటే ఆ బల్బ్ లోపల టెంపరేచర్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది కాబట్టి దాని బ్రైట్నెస్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అవుతుంది. ఆ ప్రాపర్టీని ఇన్కాండిసెన్స్ అంటాం. మనం సప్లై చేసే ఎలక్ట్రికల్ ఎనర్జీ ఆ వైర్ ని వేడిగా చేస్తుంది. ఆ వేడి నుండి లైట్ ఎనర్జీ వస్తుంది. నా ఇమాజిన్ దిస్ వే గైస్, ఇఫ్ యూ టేక్ ఎన్ ఐరన్ రాడ్, ఒక ఐరన్ రాడ్ తీసుకొని ఇఫ్ యూ స్టార్ట్ హీటింగ్ ఇట్, because of the heat it will start to glow red, then it will glow to orange, and later it will glow to yellow or white color. So because of heat, if you could increase the, if you generate light, it's called incandescence. Okay. Now the same thing is happening to the filament bulb. When there is no power supply, nothing is happening. When you set it to a battery, you're supplying that electrical energy to the battery. Okay, sorry, electrical energy to the bulb. Because of that, the heating of that filament will happen. When the filament heats up, it starts to send out light energy. Okay, so since there is more heat at that time, if we investigate with our multimeter, we can see if the resistance is high or low. Or finally the conclusion, are we able to increase the resistance with temperature? So that's the target. So let's move on to the activity. And as soon as we complete the activity, it's a very short activity, guys. You don't have to write anything, just observe. Okay, only observe keenly for the results. And by the way, I am a big fan of Amarnath's hairstyle, and I'll try out that hairstyle very soon. It's nice, Amarnath. You don't have to set it up. It's really nice. I like it. All right. So let's move on. I'll stop this particular share and I'll use my phone from now on.
Okay. Our focus is one of these filament bulbs. So the filament bulbs we are using because we can increase the temperature quite a bit. If we use these iron wires, even then we can get the results, but these batteries, whatever we have is not enough. We need a lot of energy. Maybe we have AC voltage or something like that. So let's use this multimeter, or we can use the other one. I'll clear some of these things. All right. Battery is not a concern for me right away. Our first task, if you remember, I am not going to connect the battery to this bulb. I want to measure the resistance of the bulb at room temperature. So let's zoom in. Sorry, guys, I just skipped to a different window. All right, so please observe, I'm trying to zoom in. We'll focus on the bulb right now. And I'll place my multimeter beside it so that it will be easy for us to observe. And we are going to set it to the lowest possible scale. If you remember, we always start with lowest because we don't know the result. If we know the result, we can directly set it to a different location. Lowest is 200 ohms. All right, I'll place it on this side. And let's go ahead and connect our multimeter ends. I'm connecting multimeter ends to both ends of the filament bulb. And as soon as I do that, let it stabilize. All right, so it is showing us the resistance as 133. Generally, it's a little high. Maybe there's a small issue with that particular filament or something. We have few minutes left out, guys, but it's okay. We are almost closing our session for today. I think we have enough time to close it. Let's try something else. I want to put these multimeter ends to the other bulb. Yeah, I think this is much more accurate. And you can see the resistance of the, there are a lot of other wires also touching. That could be the reason. Let me separate them. There's a lot of clutter. All right, perfect. Is it? They're losing the result once in a while. I think I got the reason. The screw. Okay, perfect. Now, it's your wish if you want to write down the results, but our focus is qualitative analysis. We are trying to understand not by numbers, but by, I mean, definitely by numbers, but quality is more crucial than the numbers, the quantity. So right now, what you're seeing there, the 3.4, 3.5, little bit of fluctuation because this particular multimeter has a battery and that is supplying some energy to measure. So you are seeing some values, but overall what you can conclude here is something less than 10. So at room temperature, the resistance of that filament is little bit less than 10. That is our conclusion. Now let's do this. Now we can go ahead and I'm going to use the battery and right away, let's say, I will set it to 6 volts. I have 6 volts option here. Yeah. So I'm setting it to 6 volts and I'll take the battery terminals over here. So this is my battery positive and this is my battery negative. Okay, battery positive and battery negative. I'm connecting them to the filament. Please observe our first result. If you remember, it's less than 10 at room temperature. Filament bulb resistance is less than 10. Now I'm turning it on and please observe what happens to that result. Bulb is glowing. And let's check this resistance thing. I think it got stuck. Let me turn it and go back. Yeah, it got stuck. That sudden surge of energy and all, it got stuck. And please observe, it's showing us that error if you see carefully. Now, it's showing that error. Let me increase that scale from 200. I'll set it to 2000 micro. Maybe I'll see a result. Please observe that even there, I'm not seeing any result. Sometimes it freezes because the value is too high. I can keep on doing it. I might not see this because the resistance is enormous right now. But I'll do one small thing. I want you to think about this. If I turn off this battery right now, do you agree that at least for some time, the heat, I mean, the element that is the filament is still hot, right? If I turn it off, at least for a few seconds, the temperature will be maintained inside and then it starts to decrease. So what I'm trying to do is, I want to see the result. I want to clearly see what happens when I turn it off. It's very, very hot right now. It's extremely hot. I'm turning it off. Please closely observe this result. Observe, you saw that, right? It went from 12 and then it came down actually. So let's do one thing. I want to repeat this experiment. See this value 3 or 2. That is the room temperature resistance of that filament. I'm turning it on again. It has jumped very, very high. Our multimeter does not have the capability to show that high resistance. That's why it's still showing the error. But since it is hot, I want to turn off the power supply and observe what happens over here. Please observe 15, 4, 3. So when temperature is increased, the resistance of the wire has also increased. And let me do one thing. Instead of 6, I want to increase further to see what happens. Can I get a bigger value over there? Now it's around 9 volts, guys. Room temperature, the resistance is 2. Now at really high temperature at 9 volts, what happens? Please observe. It's like gone case. You don't see even that error right now. So it's way higher value. Now I want to wait for like 3 or 4 seconds, let it become more and more hot. And at that particular heated state, as soon as I turn it off, see the first number that comes in your in the screen. That is the resistance at that high temperature. So I'm turning it off. Okay, once again. All right. I think this multimeter, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of freezing up. So we have 1 more minute, guys. I want to change the multimeter to cross-check our results. Maybe a problem could be with the multimeter itself. All right, so I just changed the multimeter and hopefully we have a better, I mean, hopefully this multimeter shows us clear readings instead of random showing. Now it's very high temperature. I can actually feel the heat. I'm turning off, please see the result. 60, 50, 14 and 13. Right, it started at 60 ohms, guys. And it's still 12. That means it is still hot. Until it comes to room temperature, it will stay there and slowly it will jump to 2 ohms or something. One more time. Yeah. Now observe. 33. I saw 33 as the maximum value. You leave it there for some more time, it will become more and more hot. All right. So that was our experiment for today. Let me, before we, let me check the time. Yeah, we are already done with time, guys. What I want to conclude is one thing, read about all these. Unless you read them, it will not be clear for you. Okay, you need to read this and then think about this, and then you can ask me more and more questions. And next thing I wanted to say is enjoy 2 days and have a blast for the new year. All right, any questions before we move on? Please put it in your chat window if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll call it a day for today. Nothing? All right. See you all. Bye-bye. Yeah, I turned off my
Sorry, guys, I turned off my other phone and I thought we left already. You guys are still here. So it's fine. I mean, we are done for today. I don't have any new chat windows, I guess. Yeah, it's freezing because of Seebeck effect. Well done, Amrit. Yeah, everything what you guys are saying is correct. And I want some smiles. You're so serious. Come on. Let's leave now with a smile. Okay, bye bye.